how important is reading for someone who wants to become a writer? I hate to apply rules to everybody, so I'll answer for myself. I think reading is very important. You learn a lot about storytelling, you feel emotions that are represented in the writing, and I actually read much more than I write. So for me, yes, it was very important and it's still very important.
Yeah, I think reading, especially in your genre, is very important. While you don't want to write for market trends, you do want to stay current with them. The language we speak now is so different from how people spoke when the classics were written. And so the characters from the classics sound so totally different from how modern characters sound. Or take something that was written even just 20 years ago. It wasn't uncommon then to give the reader the full backstory of a character before the story really took off. So the reader went in with all the information they need to understand the story starting on page 1. Now, it's best to sprinkle in backstory while the present story is moving forward.
I love this question. How important is it to read if you want to be an author? It's very, very, very important. You have to want to read because reading helps you learn how to become a better writer. So yes, I've taken classes that teach me how to do all the different things, but it's not until you read a story over and over and read different kinds of stories that you really start to understand what writing is about. So, for example, here's one of my processes. So if I'm going to start a new book, let's see, for example, my astronaut aquanaut book. Okay. So I wrote this book about astronaut, aquanaut, how space science and sea science interact. So the most crucial part to a book, to me, and probably to a lot of us, is the beginning, right? Because if the beginning is exciting and it grabs your attention, then your reader's going to want to read more. If it's not so attention grabbing, people may put it down after 3 pages, you know? So what I will do is I will find a topic, like for example, I will go get space books and ocean books and stuff like that. And I will read, like a stack of them from the library, like 10, 15, whatever. And I will go through and read the first couple pages of every single book. And I do this back to back to back to back, right? And then I kind of separate them because I'm like, oh, I like how this one approached it. Now, this is not to copy. This is not to plagiarize. It's to give you an idea of tone, voice. How do you want to use your own voice in your writing to start your book? And I'll put them in categories, ones that might be really catchy, ones that might be so-so, but I like the information. And then ones over here that are like, yeah, these don't really fit what I'm looking for. And I'll kind of go through all of the books. But you have to like reading if you are going to write, because you have to do all of this reading. Plus, of course, I read a lot of books and papers and websites because of all the research that I have to do. So you definitely need to learn to like reading in order to write. It just makes you a better writer.
Do you have any favorite books or authors that inspired you to write? I have many throughout my many years. I don't know that they inspired me to write, but they inspired me to love reading. What really inspired me to write was when I was reading picture books to my children, and I just thought I would try what it was like to write. But the books that inspired me to read and to love storytelling, the very first book I remember is E.B. White, Charlotte's Web. I remember crying and the feeling, and I can see the bedroom where I was reading it in. Also, Kate DiCamillo, she's a master at storytelling. I could read her stories over and over again. Stephen King, he's amazing at characterization, among everything else. And Marcus Zuzak, The Book Thief, that is just an extreme classic. Those are just to name a few. There's so many others. I mainly read middle grade, and I just could not name them all. So those are a couple.
That author will always be K.A. Applegate with her Animorph book series. She's the author who got me into reading for fun, and those are the books that inspired me to start writing my own stories. Before her books, I only read for school assignments, so without her, I know for a fact I would not be an author today. So thanks, Catherine.
Do you have any favorite books or authors that inspired you to write?
My favorite book character when I was little was Harry the Dirty Dog. I love reading these books about a silly dog and his adventures. Bella and Blue was inspired by that silliness and fun storytelling.
Okay, so authors or books that have inspired me. So at my core, I'm a poet. That's what I started out loving when I was in college. In particular, I published for some small chapbooks and journals. But my go-to poet is Denise Levertov, and particularly her volume called Evening Train, and also Breathing the Water, that volume as well. But those are my go-to if I need inspiration. I love her language. I love her exact use of words. I love her imagery, and so those are my go-tos. I just love Denise Levertov, and I would encourage you to check her out as well.